Has Drake surpassed Michael Jackson on the all time list? I can't believe I'm even asking that question. Welcome to another episode of Jump Off Live. I'm yours truly, Jeff A. Smith. Joined with a few other members of Team Jump Off, we have JD and Johnny Dangerous. What's good, fellas?
Yo, what's up, everybody? How y'all
Let's get it.
So yeah, we're gonna dive right into this topic. So everybody knows who Drake is. Of course, everybody knows who the king of pop, Michael Jackson, is. There's been a lot of debate going back and forth on the interwebs regarding if whether or not Drake has surpassed Michael Jackson. Um, as you all know, as most of you all know, Drake just released an album recently called "Certified Lover Boy," and there's a song on the album called "You Only Live Twice," where he actually says, "Not sure if you know, but I'm actually Michael Jackson. The man I see in the mirror is actually going platinum." Now, that's a bar. That's a bar right there. That in addition to all the crazy amount of records that Drake has been breaking over the last decade, it seems like, has caused this debate to continue to brew and finally kind of boil over in recent weeks. Um, According to this Yahoo article here, I'm going to kind of go through some of the key points, and then I want to get you guys' thoughts on this hot topic. So, with the release of Certified Lover Boy, Drake is in rarefied air as the LP not only broke unprecedented streaming numbers, but 9 songs reached the top 10 on the Billboard Top 100. That is the most ever top 100 pop singles from one album. The previous record was 7, was previously held by Michael Jackson off of the 1982 album Thriller. However, as you all know, numbers are just numbers, and we have to put things in their proper context. So, Drake broke that record, but let me throw another record at you. So, during Jackson's lifetime, we have to remember too the primary way to listen to his albums was to buy physical copies. Going to the store, getting your record, getting your cassette, getting your CD, that whole thing. And Thriller, obviously the biggest selling album of all time, is currently at 34 million albums or units sold, according to RIAA. Now, to put that in perspective of just how many albums that is, Drake's entire discography of 7 albums is collectively 25 million albums. 25 million, yeah, times platinum. 25 million albums sold. So Thriller by itself, 34 million. Uh, Drake's entire discography, 25 million. Enough of the numbers, though. I want to get into, more of what the people are talking about because we can skew numbers and talk about records, back and forth. I'll start off too. I tend to think that there's some recency bias as it relates to this. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on your initial reactions when you hear all these records being broken that surpass Michael Jackson in some respects and obviously not in others. At this point in time, would you all think or say that Drake has surpassed Michael Jackson?
Man, I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
No, no. And that's that might just be my 39 years, almost 40 years talking and growing up with NJ and knowing how much of an icon that he is still even in death.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though if Michael Jackson was around now and he was as popular as he was then, there should be some sort of metric to
Yeah.
weigh that, to even those odds. And I think the stat that you gave, though, saying that MJ sold the amount of albums that he sold, physical albums, and then you go with Drake and his entire discography has sold less than Thriller. I mean, like, to me, that's the end of the case right there. I think what this is, you got a bunch of youngins out there with their opinions, and that all they know is what they know and what they've seen. So go back a little bit, go back to the 80s. It's not that long ago, but go
Yeah.
back to the 80s, do a little research, check out the numbers, and realize that Michael Jackson was not. I mean, Drake is popular. Don't get me wrong. Drake is an amazing artist. Don't get me wrong. But the level of popularity, I don't think is equal. I think Michael Jackson was one of those people that reached the status where almost anybody walking this planet who has a TV or had a radio knew who he was. And I don't think Drake can compare to that. at this point in time. Also, music was different then, though. Music was a lot more centralized, a lot more, I guess, difficult to get, so to speak. I mean, it wasn't hard to go to your Sam Goody or to your corner store and pick up, a copy of any sort of Michael Jackson album or single, but it's not as convenient as it is to, stream Drake on Spotify or iTunes or something like that. So the debate can be had, but I don't think it's that much of a case. It's kind of a blowout in favor of Mike.
Before we get to John, I have two questions for you. What is a radio, and what is Sam Goody?
I know, right? Yeah, go Google those. Google those. Radio is that thing that's in your car that you have to dial in a station and only goes so far. Yeah, it's one of those things. And gotcha. Sam Goody, he's a good dude. He owned a record store.
Hey, JD, I bet a lot of people thought that you could actually talk to Sam Goody and give you a radio. You know,
I did.
Sam Goody,
I actually know Sam. he's a good dude.
You knew him before he was good, huh? He was bad at the time.
Oh, Michael Jackson, huh? I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
All right.
I see it.
I think we're showing our age tonight, man.
Yeah, we are.
Big time.
Oh man. First of all, kudos to Drake. Hats off to him. I take my hat off to him because he has to be right now like one of the most consistent young bulls in the game right now. He's consistent. He for years, he's been holding strong and he keeps dropping fire. I can't name one bad album he's done. So kudos to him. It really doesn't make me wonder why he would even compare himself to Michael Jackson. I appreciate the tenacity, the boldness, the audaciousness of this young generation now that's coming up. You know, I've heard so many different things on the internet. These youngins say, I remember Jacquees was having it out with Keith Sweat. Keith Sweat was trying to give him some of that old school knowledge. Jacquees wasn't having it. He said, it's my time, So I think about that and those sort of moments when we talk about Drake comparing him to Michael Jackson. It's like comparing LeBron to Michael Jordan, even though Jordan is still around. MJ is the GOAT. I don't care what era you were born in or where you're from. Michael Jackson, there's nobody. He's in a class of his own. You can't compare him to Prince. I think all of this is for conversational purposes, and we're talking about it tonight. We're conversing. But there's no way anybody, probably not in our lifetime, will be able to compare themselves like legitimately against Michael Jackson. Like JD was saying, like you said, Jeff, Mike, Mike could have been dropped off while he was alive in the middle of the Australian outback. And it could have been pygmies out there with crocodiles. All of them would have known who the hell Mike was as soon as he came out that helicopter. You drop Drake somewhere near some Aborigines and some crocodiles, he either gonna get ate by one of the two or both. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna know who he is. If you didn't have a TV, if you didn't have a magazine, if you didn't have a radio, you just knew who Michael Jackson was. He was just that damn famous. He was that bad. Look at him, man. I can see Drake. I can see how Drake feels like maybe he's reincarnated Michael Jackson because of his success. 25 million albums, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But when you put things into perspective, Jeff, with the numbers, 34 million albums, Michael Jackson, Thriller, just Thriller alone. Mike didn't produce, didn't sing it. I never heard anything bad from Mike. I never heard anything borderline that could have easily, slipped into. I don't know about that one, Mike. Nobody can say that about Mike. Michael Jackson was a legend and a phenom. He's one of a kind. You can't compare him. Drake, I love him, man. I love Drake. Drake, he killing the game, man. He's got a whole lot of charisma, his personality, the stuff he does, non-verbals and verbals, the pictures he takes, his dating list, man. I mean, this young brother, he's doing it, he's making it happen. Even with the beef that he had with Pusha T, he still was able to bounce back from that after they say Pusha bodied him and everything.
Man.
So yeah, he bodied him. But Drake is great. He's just
Mhm.
not the greatest. And Drake can continue to do his thing for another 10, 20 years. I just don't see him surpassing Mike and what Mike has done. I mean, Mike is a legend.
Yes.
Everybody know that.
Yeah, it's really hard to compare, and we go back to these numbers, and there's a few other stats that I'll throw out there from the article too. But as it relates to numbers, um, artists these days, their output is much higher than artists back in the day too.
Yeah,
Because artists these days, they have to continue to put out an album a year, two albums a year, that type of thing, just to stay relevant. You have your Kendricks and your J. Cole's who don't have to do that, but for the most part, somebody like Drake, he has to stay relevant, stay in the public eye, so he has to consistently put out music. So that takes away the air of anonymity, you know what I'm saying, and anticipation, because he's always going to have something dropping. Not to say it's a bad thing, but that the more he puts out, the more opportunities he does have to break these records.
True.
Not holding that against him, you know what I'm saying. But Mike would drop an album every 4 or 5 years and let it breathe, or whatever the case may be. So that's gonna account for the amount of not necessarily records sold, but amount of like top 10 Billboard, blah blah blah. When you have more songs, or you're dropping songs more consistently.
Right.
Not to take that away from Drake, because he does have this. It says in the article he surpassed Michael Jackson in top 10s on the Billboard Hot 100. He has 40 of them. However, 15 of that 40 are features. He's on other people's songs. Whereas with Michael Jackson, he has 30 top 10s, but he only has one as a feature. The other 29 is him dolo. So just stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And another stat that they had in here that was powerful is that Michael Jackson, although he's had less top 10 Billboard 100 singles than Drake, he's had 10 less. He's had top 10 Billboard 100 singles in 5 consecutive decades. So the breadth, the length of his career. So it's apples to oranges when it comes down to it to some extent. But yeah, it's hard to compare. To your original point, JD, there has to be some type of equalizer, kind of like when they compare Kobe to LeBron. I mean, my fault, LeBron and Mike. We always say, but there was hand checking back then. You got to add an asterisk next to what's going on, because they was hand. There's certain handicaps you have to do. But for right now, we have to look at it too. I know we haven't really mentioned it a whole lot, but it's recency bias can play into this too. And you have ageism. We're showing our age. People who were born, these not millennials, because we're the upper part of the millennials, but the Gen Zers and stuff like that. Yeah. Drake is Michael Jackson to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's the biggest thing that's been out in music in the last 10 years. So
true.
True.
Let's talk about something that JD had brought up as well. We talk about the brick and mortar. You had to go to brick and mortar to get a Michael Jackson record, right?
Yeah.
JD looked at that as being a plus, which it was.
Yeah.
But compare that to now, where
So
you can
easy.
go on the internet, you can download, you got all these other sources.
Yeah.
Produce these numbers that support Drake and all the albums that he's created, right?
You just go right to your phone, which you already happen to have right there. There's no effort involved.
No effort involved. So, anybody could do that. With Mike, I don't know anybody that was getting records sent to them in the mail. You had to get your butt up, get down there, get in line.
Yeah.
You had to get in line to get that mic if you was gonna get it on the first day.
That's what I'm saying. You can get the records in the mail. You can get the 20 tapes for a penny, but those are usually old. That's old music. That's not the new music. What was the name of that company? But y'all know I'm talking about. 20 CDs.
Wasn't it like Westinghouse or
something like that?
Westinghouse is still around.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, there's something to be said about having to get out there and
And then there was two things that both of you guys kind of touched on a little bit, but the anticipation of the albums, like it wasn't like you knew exactly when an album was going to be coming out. Like now it's like you get a year in advance and know that like on January 28th this album is coming out that day. with Mike, at least for me, maybe it's because I was young. When it came out, it was like, oh, he got an album coming out. Oh snap! Like I'm excited. Like then I get geeked about it, and then I have to go, figure out how I'm gonna get it. But sort of piggybacking off of that, you could get in line to go get get that CD or get that tape, and theoretically, if you on there day one, it wasn't guaranteed that you was gonna even be able to get it.
Right.
Like you might be in line, you might be towards the end of that line, and you get up there and like, oh, we sold out.
Then you got to go to the Virgin music store.
Right, right. Either that or then you got to start taping off the radio. Like
I
used to do.
Have somebody to dub it. Can you dub it for me? You dub it?
Can you dub me a tape? Man, wow. If I told that to my daughter, she look at me sideways like, what?
You want to make a copy of something?
Right.
These kids wouldn't even know how to do it. They can do anything else technical. Computer. Yeah. You say, hey, dub this tape to that tape. First of all, what is a dub? Are
right.
$20 bill?
Right. You mean airdrop it? Like how do we gotta
right.
That company was that company was Columbia House.
There you go.
I just looked it up. The 12 CDs,
Columbia House
tapes for a penny. So
hey, do you guys remember watching Michael Jackson on television?
Yes.
On those concerts.
Yes.
He would just stand there for like 10 minutes and they would just faint and do whatever. He ain't gonna sing nothing. He would raise his hand and then like, oh, this is a rap.
He was the only person that could shush a crowd and make a crowd go wild. And they'd be quiet.
Yeah.
Right.
Power,
man. You see the people like jumping. It's like they were possessed, man. They were jumping out their skin, like sweating, like they couldn't control their bodies. I'm sure it was people that didn't want to miss Mike. They defecated on themselves just to make sure they caught everything. I seen people out there, they stopped blinking. They just watching like the whole concert, man, looking like zombies. So
you know what? His videos used to debut on broadcast TV.
Yeah, like CBS.
I can remember watching the Bad video with Wesley Snipes.
Yep.
On CBS.
Yeah, CBS.
Like it was it was an event. Like we all sat around the TV, like, oh, Michael Jackson got a video coming out tonight. Like, and I mean, it was a solid 35 minutes, like mini movie video. And like, I would like to see some artists, try to do a little bit more of that type of thing nowadays too. Like that was awesome. And it was an event. So I think somebody can, sort of get back with that type of thing and make, sort of mini movies out of their videos. I wish I had some talent like that because I would be using it, man.
I know we're going to wrap it up here in a minute. The other thing I want to mention, kind of the last thing too, is the with social media and stuff like that. We know what all these artists are doing at any given time, so there's no guessing and wondering when you're going to see that person again either. Like we didn't know when we were going to see Mike on TV again or when he was going to be performing and when his next album was going to be coming out and stuff like that. So you really appreciated what you were saying because you didn't know what was going on in his life. Now we can go online, you can see where Drake was at, what club he was at last night and stuff like that. So that makes you feel closer to the artist, but the mystique is kind of not there as well either when you can see what they're doing in their everyday lives. So that's a big difference as well too, as far as celebrities are concerned. So make sure y'all
about that. I'm sorry. Last thing I want to put in is that Mike made a song about a rat who wasn't a snitch, and it was an incredible song. Now you got artists that are considered rats that are doing nearly as well. Mike is the only one that made a song about a rat that everybody loved. Dude, you can't touch that. I just wanted to bring that.
Mind blown.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Jump Off Live fans, comment. Let us know what you think about this whole Drake versus Michael Jackson debate. We would love to see what you guys have to say about it. Comment and hit us up. As always, under the video here. Also, follow us on Instagram. We got to get our numbers up over there. At JumpOffLive _ is the Instagram handle. And you see all of our handles here on the screen as well, too. Any final words, fellas?
No, man. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube specifically. That does so much for us. If you like the content that we put out, and we're going to be putting out more. So if you like what you're seeing and what you're hearing, drop us a sub hit that like button. As everybody say, smash the like button, and tell a friend to tell a friend.
Shimon, y'all. Like and subscribe, Shimon.
All right, until next time, peace and love. Jump off.